Hello, everyone. We are back. It is the Canadian Bowler Show. I'm Mike Petulli, joined here today by my fabulous co-host Daryl Fitzgerald. How's it going, Daryl?
Pretty good. It snow's gone and it is raining all the time, so that must mean it is bowl season kicking off.
Yeah, it's I guess all of our snow's gone as of last week here in Saskatchewan too. Got the tarps off of the greens. It's that familiar just before the season gets going. Pretty exciting point of the year. How's it going out in Ontario?
Lots of rain, so it's been constantly wet. But went out and saw at least my home club greens, and everything looked good. Greens
No.
look like they came back pretty well, so I'm excited to start rolling some bowls.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think everyone is getting pretty itchy to get out there and play some bowls. It's probably going to be a few weeks for pretty much anyone in Canada. Some people in Ontario, I know there's been some tournaments, but I know it's something that's be coming soon for everyone here. Before we get going, just going to do the reminder to like, comment, subscribe if you are here. Hitting those buttons does really help us out. We appreciate any sort of interaction and support we can get. It really does help push the channel forward in the future. Additionally, if you look at Daryl, he's got a fantastic sweatshirt on there, and I got my lovely coffee mug. If you do want to support us, we do have merch that is available. You'll be able to access it through links on our YouTube channel there. So again, any support we do appreciate. So if you do have an inclining to pick any of that stuff up, please do. It does help us out a lot. If you're a person who is not catching this live, you can catch it on YouTube after the fact, be up there within the day. And if you are a podcaster, it'll be on all major podcasting platforms within the week of the show. So check us out whatever time, whenever you want. We will have the information up there. So we can get into it. We got some new, bowls going on right now. We touched on it on the last show, the World Indoor, I think it's called the World Indoor Championship, or it's confusing because it used
World Bowls Indoor Championship, I think, is the official name.
Yeah, it confuses me to all hell because it used to be the World Cup, and then we have the WBT technically calls theirs the World Indoor Championship. So it's very confusing, but I digress. So that's currently going on. We do have two Canadians playing in the event, Jerome Kirby and Linda Ng. So there they are. They are giving it a go. I think they started bowling. It would have been yesterday and maybe the day before. So they've been bowling and they've got some results. They're playing mixed pairs to start out, so they don't start their singles until tomorrow, Australia time. So I guess that'd probably be today our time. So their results so far is they went 1-2. All of their games went to tiebreakers, so it was very close matches across the board. They ended up winning their game against Northern Ireland in a tiebreak. They ended up losing their game to Hungary/Australia in a tiebreak, and then they lost their game to Namibia in a tiebreak. So all of the games were pretty much even point-wise, but it's the wonderful nature of sets play that sometimes you can have a pretty good game and potentially have the plus-minus on your side, but you end up losing the match. So you have any thoughts about how they've been playing there, Daryl?
I mean, it's early days, and it's really hard going, halfway across the world playing on indoor where we don't really get a lot of that here across Canada. So, I mean, anytime a Canadian or an American are entered into this type of event, you always think they're up against it, right? They're climbing the uphill battle, so to speak. So good so far. I mean, both excellent players. So even though the mixed pairs didn't go their way, hopefully the singles does.
So I think you were telling me before the show you had like a list of all the countries that were in it, because I think last time we sort of covered the one that was in the UK last year. There was a lot of countries you don't see typically bowling, I guess internationally. So do you have that list handy of all the different countries that are in this one?
Yeah, let's see if I can get this. Got my list. So on the women's side, we had 31 entries. I mean, official entries. Australia, Botswana, Canada, Cook Islands, England, Guernsey, Hong Kong, China, Ireland, Israel, Japan, Jersey, Kenya, Macau, China, Malaysia, Malta, Namibia, Netherlands, New Zealand, Norfolk Island, Philippines, Scotland. They had 2 entries because they have the returning champs as well. Singapore, South Africa, Sri Lanka, Switzerland, Thailand, Tonga, Turkey, the US, and Wales. And on the men's side, they had 35. So they had a lot of the similar ones. They had Falkland Islands as well, Fiji, Hungary, Jamaica. Let's see if did I miss anybody else there. I don't think so. Sweden, I think, and Switzerland weren't on the men's side, or on the women's side, or were they? It's hard to keep track because it's 35 and 31. That's a lot of countries, and we're not
Yeah.
used to seeing that in bowls, really.
Yeah, it's pretty spectacular to see the different teams coming out for events like this, because I think indoor is kind of the one that can bind a lot of them together, because a lot of countries either play on sort of improvised carpets, stuff like that, where it's kind of accessible either soccer or just carpeting of certain buildings. You can usually kind of multi-purpose some of the carpets and floors that are available to people. So it's not terribly surprising, but it always is good that we do see these different countries at least giving it a shot.
Yeah, for some of you that might be interested, I mean, I kind of highlighted a few of the people I was watching, and if you watch bowls at all or you know bowls internationally, you'll know these names. So like Australia has probably 2 of the front runners, Kelsey Cottrell and Aaron Sheriff, 2 amazing bowlers. Obviously, you've got Canada with Linda Ng and Jerome Kirby. You've got US with Dee McSparren and Scotty Marzoni. I think I got that right. Wales, Danny Salmon. New Zealand, Andrew Kelly, and Scotland had Michael Stephanie, who won before. You've got New Zealand on the women's side. You've got New Zealand, Caitlin Inch, Guernsey, Alison Marion, MBE. Julie Forrest is back for Scotland as well. So, I mean, some really talented names, as well as the mix of people probably nobody's ever heard of, because we just don't see these countries on the stage. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top and what new superstars we actually get out of this.
Yeah, no, I'm actually very interested to see how it shapes out, because you did highlight there's quite a few high-end names in there. Lots of people we've seen either at Commonwealth Games, World Bowls, whatever it might be, just sort of the cream of the crop. In regards to like that, the event in general, I think they said they're streaming it starting Monday. World Bowls is saying it was Monday or Tuesday. There was a
Right.
post that I saw. Regardless what day it was, if you are interested in watching it, you can definitely check out the link that they'll be posting. So you World Bowls just on Facebook, you'd be able to find them there, and then you'd be able to follow whatever link or go directly to their website, and then you'd be able to check out the games when they do start streaming them.
We've also got the results link, so if you're interested to know where to go, because sometimes the World Bowl site is better, but sometimes it is a little difficult to navigate the events and where you go. We've got it in our description, so you can go and check that out, and it'll take you right to the results page.
Yeah, no, that's actually a notable. I was impressed with the changes they've made to the actual page. For it's a lot easier to find the results, and it allows you to see the scorecard as well, which is cool for especially the sets play. You can see what the scores were in each set, who won the game, everything like that. So it's a little confusing on their main page, but then you can actually click through the different sets and then see the actual results, which is very handy if you're obviously wanting to check how whoever did it during the event. Cool. So is that all we had for the World Indoor?
Yeah, early days. We'll have more results probably the next. Obviously we'll have the results the next time we do a podcast. So right now, that's really all that is going on internationally as far as World Bowls.
I guess we're gonna touch on the topic for international bowls leading into World Bowls this summer. I think the Canadian team is currently having their camp, or they've gotten together or starting a camp in the coming days here. So that'll be exciting to see what comes of that, because obviously we haven't named our team for World Bowls this summer, but this camp is obviously going to be a main part of who's going to get selected. So that'll be exciting to see what comes, or who gets picked, I guess, for that upcoming World Bowls.
Yeah, they're out at PIBC, playing on the carpet, so that's kind of exciting. It's always interesting to see who does well and who doesn't on that style of surface. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you're out in BC, and I'm sure you might be able to sneak in and catch a glimpse. I don't know if it's open to the public, but they're there. All the top players in Canada that are up for selection, so go and check them out.
Yeah, that'll be very fun to see. No, I was kind of perusing Facebook, and I could see that a few of the players that live internationally had come back to be part of the camp. So good luck to everyone there, and hopefully we'll have some news to pass along about who the team is, probably in one of our next upcoming shows. All right, so I'm not gonna let Daryl sit there and stew in it too much. One of the main parts of the show here today is we're gonna bring back a coach's corner, which was Daryl's baby. During our early shows, lots of people have requested coach's corner to come back. If you don't know, Daryl is we were talking about this before the show, certified performance coach. I'm in the process of getting myself certified to be a competition coach, which is essentially our middle level coach in Canada. So coaching is near and dear to both of our hearts, and it's really a perfect time to talk about it, specifically if you're a Northern Hemisphere bowler, because we're getting ready for a new year, and it's kind of an important part of the year is getting ready and preparing for that season. Is it not, Daryl?
It is, and today's Coach's Corner will be about early season prep and what you should be doing now that the greens are open. In the case of like Southern Ontario, they're actually holding events and playing down there. But most of us up in the middle and northern areas of our provinces don't have that luxury. So hopefully this will help you along the way. Now, it's been a while since I did this, so hopefully I set it all up correctly. Just give me 1 second here. Hey, we're still in the corners. That's perfect. There we go. So early season prep, Coach's Corner. As Mike said, it's been a really big requested part of the show to bring back. If you don't know, it does take quite a bit to put these together and to get the information, because obviously between myself, Luke, and Mike, we want to give you the best information possible. I don't want to lead you astray. So early season prep, preseason. So if you haven't done this already, you're behind the 8 ball. If you haven't done this already, you should. But during the off season, when we're all basically hibernating, waiting for bowls to start, we're looking abroad to all the streams and wishing that we were out on the greens as well. But preseason, before you hit the greens, you should be choosing your goals. What are the competitions that you want? What are the teams that you want to be part of? Is it the same team from last year? Are you looking for something new? Did you get booted from your team, so you need a new team? Whatever the case may be. And is a goal to be an international player? Are you looking to, say, make it to Champion of Champions? Are you looking to make it to a World Bowls event? Are you looking to make the team? And is there a selection process or a selection piece that's coming up soon that maybe gives you the opportunity to be selected for that team? All these things should be goals that you're listing, and list it from, this is the ultimate goal, and then these are the goals that I need to get there. And you should be breaking your season down. You should be hopefully talking with the coach on how you're going to achieve these goals. It's important. If you don't write it on paper, if you don't have it down so that you can look at it and you have it sorted, they're just out there. It's like, I want to win a gold medal. Well, great, fantastic. That's a good goal to have. But put it down and say, here's my goal. I want to win a gold medal at Canadians. This is how I'm going to do it. This is are the things that I need to get there. Get your plans in order. Okay, you need training plans and competition plans and the prep for your year. Just going out here and there, hucking your bulls on the green and drawing jacks isn't the best way to train. Sorry for all of you that do that, but I'm just gonna break your hearts now and say that it's not the best way to do it. You should have everything in order. Get a training plan. What are you gonna train early? What are you gonna train mid-season? What are your plans for when you get close to that goal? You're heading to the Canadians and you want to polish off those final pieces so that you're at the peak of your game when you enter the Canadians. What does that look like? When is that going to happen? And do an assessment. I've given it to a few people that have contacted me over the winter. They asked me, what should I do? Can you work with me? And so forth. And my first thing usually is to give them an assessment and say, hey, tell me about yourself. I list a whole bunch of shots and a whole bunch of skills. And I say, rate yourself from 1 to 10. 1 obviously being the worst and 10 being the best. If they come back with all 10s, I'm like, well, what do you need my help for? You're the best draw bowler in Canada. You're the best drive bowler in Canada, and so forth. Be honest and tell me what things you think you're good at and what things you're bad at, and tell yourself. We have a link in the description below. I did a video on this a little while ago as part of the technical difficulty series. Do an assessment, and it goes through everything you need. It has example links to example forms for doing it as well. So go check that out. It is a big part of understanding your game and getting prepared for the season. So yeah, Mike, do you have anything on preseason?
No, you touched on kind of the main parts that I like. Like when I was a high end competitive bowler and wasn't washed up like I am now, a big part of it was doing the assessments and really looking at how I've been performed as a bowler or how I kind of viewed myself as a bowler and see what I needed to work on. Because when you start out a year, it's important to target areas or things that you could improve on or that you could work on to make yourself a more complete or well-rounded player. And so really, when you do these assessments, it opens your eyes sometimes about certain aspects of your game that you could develop and then maybe do drills to target and work on. Because if you have a deficiency or something you're not so good at in your game, it's very easy to then plan your practice sessions to maybe look at how I can improve or certain techniques type things that I can work on to improve that thing that I'm not so good at. So I really do recommend them because it helps you develop yourself, make yourself more well-rounded. And then when you do get to those competitions that you care about, if you've been working on your backhand draw on full length, which you're not very good at, if you've been working on it, you're going to get into a game situation and you're going to maybe play great bowls on your backhand full length type of a thing. So it's definitely worthwhile to look at an assessment and go through with one. If you're even a semi-competitive player, I do recommend them because it is helpful to sort of help you target anything that you would do want to work on for the season that's coming up.
I do have to say that one of my favorite things, and it might be a little, I don't know, sadistic on my part or something like that. It's when a player comes to me and does an assessment and they've got 9s on all these things. I'm amazing at these, and I take them out to the green and we do some drills, and they're hitting less than 20% of everything, and it's like, okay, bring them back down to earth and say, like, I'm glad you think so greatly of yourself, but let's start talking honestly. And these assessments get easier over time. Like the first one might be all over the place. You might think you suck at something and you're actually really good, and you might think you're really good at something and you might not play so well. But over time, they start to balance out, and then you get really, really good. And if your assessment hits with what you're actually doing, that's when you know you're in tune and you really understand where your game is at. So definitely an important part. One of my favorite slides, early season excuses. So when I talk to people and we talk about early season training. I get a whole bunch of stuff back. Like my club isn't open. My club is opens late compared to everyone else. I'm at a disadvantage as I don't get on the greens. I don't need practice. Why practice when I can enter tournaments and play all day every day? What do I need to go out and roll some bowls for on my own? I'm all by myself. Um, I'm on my own, no one to help, and no one really has my drive to succeed. I'm one of a kind. So, uh, I rub people the wrong way and they don't want to play with me or something like that. I'm too aggressive. I'm too competitive. The greens are slow. Obviously this one is very common. The greens are so slow in April and May. I can't get my bowl down the green. I can barely get it up to minimum length or the minimum line. And the lines are terrible. I'm just going up the center of the green and everything's so wet and damp and soggy. The weather is bad. Day in day out, we get a nice sunny day and then we get a crappy rainy day. Um, you know, why should I go out and why would I go out on a very overcast, chilly day? I'll just wait for the next sunny day where it's nice and hot and I can wear my shorts and everything's great and the greens are dry or drier, I should say. Um, and I just need to draw. Why am I going out and doing all these training drills? I just want to, put a jack out there and I'll draw it, and then I'll do it again and I'll do it again, and that's all I need. I just need to draw jacks. Do you have any more excuses to add to this list? Is there any great ones that you hear for people in the early season?
No, like all of your all the ones you have here, I hear those variations myself. I think the term that we use in Saskatchewan is a huck and chuck when it's so slow early season that you essentially just throw the ball or bowl as hard as you can right down the middle and hope that it doesn't back out and whatever it might be. So definitely the greens are slow is a common excuse. Weather is bad, everything like that. But again, they're things that you should be looking at in a different light, because if you think about it, when you're playing in a competition, the weather's not gonna always be optimal and the greens aren't always going to be optimal. So exactly what with your solution slide here, you have to go out and practice when it's overcast, cold, whatever you might want to call it, or if the greens are a little damp, whatever it is, because it's going to make you better. It's going to make you better prepared for when you do get into a competition and you can't choose if you want to go out and when it's next sunny or whatever it might be. So I'll let you take back over here.
Uh, I'll start with that one. Get used to bad weather. Um, every day that you go out for competition, if you're a serious competitive bowler and you're bowling in tournaments or you bowl internationally, the weather's not going to be your friend all the time. It could be cold, it could be raining, and they may not pull you off until the greens flood or there's thunder and lightning. Now, I'm not saying, you know, go out in the worst rainstorm imaginable and slog it around and get yourself a cold and feel miserable all the time. But I'm saying if it's overcast and a little chilly and you're thinking, it feels a little damp, go out and practice. Get out those days. It's just like training for a race and running and exercising and everything like that. It's like it's not always prime conditions. And if you're only going out there in prime conditions to play and to practice, you don't know what it's like to play in adverse situations where the green is a little damp, the green is a little soggy, maybe. You're not feeling the greatest. You're a little chilly. I hear constantly from people who go into a tournament and then they can't hold on to their bowl. They say it's too cold and I can't hold on to my bowl. It's like you should have known that ahead of time and you should have solutions. If you're going to play competitive, you should have solutions to these things. If you can't hold on to your bowl when it's really cold out, what are you going to do to fix that? Because I don't think your teammates are going to appreciate the fact that you say, well, it's a little chilly, I'm going to pull out of this because I can't hold on to my bowl. That kind of ruins the whole thing. Think outside the box. This blows my mind. People go out there on like an 8-second green, even slower, and they try to rip it all the way down to the tee. Drawing the ditch. It is not an effective use of your time. Think differently. Training doesn't have to be the traditional rink. It doesn't have to be in one straight line. It doesn't have to be maximum length or even minimum length. Turn your mat around, step, let's say 3 or 4 yards out and bowl towards the ditch. Get your motion down and your delivery down. Work on your line. Don't worry about getting your bowl all the way down to the end. Make sure you're hitting your line. When the greens get faster, it'll help you out. Going out there and just trying to rip it down the green is not helping anybody. It's not helping you. So do it differently. People may look at you weird because you're not playing the traditional game or you're not practicing at a traditional length, but you're working on your skills. You're working on your delivery. You're working on your mechanics. You're working on your line. All those kind of things, and you can do it on a crappy green. It doesn't mean that you're gonna be drawing jacks because maybe there's no draw out there. It's just too heavy. But at least you can work on the mechanics. You can work on the little things. So do it differently. Think out of the box. Um, for those guys that and women that go out there and say, I play in tournaments every single day and on weekends. Why do I need to train? Playing isn't training. Playing is your test. You go out to an open tournament, that's your test. It'll give you an idea of where you're at. So based on the competitive level that your tournament is at, whether it's like a district level or just a provincial, where it's a Canadian, maybe you get some international players in there, you know the levels that you're at and who you're playing against. But it's not going to give you the repetition. It's not going to give you an idea of how to improve your bowls. You're not going to be able to improve a shot. You're going to be able to see if you can make it or not. But you need to take the time to train, to get out there and do the repetitions to make it stick, to fix the problems, to identify what things are going wrong so that you can then fix them again. Going out and playing in a tournament, you're playing shots all over the place, you're doing different strategies, you're playing in competition. It's a great test, but it's not training. And stop this single focus, boring crap that you're going out there, you're hucking a jack and you're drawing. And then you're hucking a jack and you're drawing. And then you're hucking a jack and you're drawing. I mean, it's boring for me to even say it. Going out and drawing 1,000 jacks or 1,000 bulls to a bare jack loses its effectiveness after a little while. It's a great warm up. It's a great thing to have as one of the steps that you do, but you don't do it all the time, every time. You don't do it for hours on end. It's part of your warm up. It's part of the prep that you have, and you do need to understand if you can draw a bare jack. If you can't draw a bare jack, I mean, there's some work to be done, but you don't need to go out and do it 1,000 times every time. You know, go out and practice a roll, be a lead, move your mat up and down, try different jack placements. You know, try drawing second shot. You know, put a bowl close and say, can I get around it? Put obstacles out there. Can I get around these shots and actually make it to the jack? There's a whole bunch of fun stuff that you can do that will still improve your draw, but it's not just drawing a jack, drawing a jack, drawing a jack. Boring, absolutely boring. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Well, I agree with you. Just throwing a jack and drawing to it is amongst the most boring thing you can probably do as a player. Lots of people like to do it because it does have, I guess, some sort of effectiveness. But as you're saying, if you're just doing that over and over again, you're losing out on a lot of different shot selections that you do have in bowls. Obviously, there's more than just a draw. There is yard on shots, there's takeouts, there's trails, whatever it is. You're kind of losing a very broad amount of shots that there are in bowls. So drawing does lose its effectiveness. You should definitely be sort of strategizing what you're going to be doing, and sort of what you say here with the train to your given position. So part of that pre-planning for the season is figuring out where you're going to be playing, what type of shots you're going to be playing as a lead, or if you're second on a fours team, whatever it is, it's going to target what you should be looking at. And then if you've done an assessment on yourself, I'm the skip and I'm not so good at my weight shots, maybe I should work on my weight shots. Or I'm the vice and I'm not so good at playing that position bowl to the tee. Whatever it might be, you're going to be able to target what you should work on from knowing where you're going to be playing, what type of competitions you're going to be playing. And then obviously your practice then could be tailored to, okay, and I'm going to work on drawing to the tee, and then maybe throw a couple bowls sort of in the line to make that a more difficult shot, so that you know you have to get around a bowl to get to the tee or close to the tee type of a thing. So That's the one thing I would really say is drawing to that jack, never all that effective. If unless you're maybe that lead, that part of that is if you're a lead or you're a person who's only playing singles, you want to be just the lights out with your draw, you can definitely do that. But obviously then you're just going to be maybe tailoring it to throw a couple different things in there so that you do have that breadth of shots.
Make training fun. I mean, I had when I had some coaches, and even in other sports, when they would tell me to do something a million times, I mean, I get the repetition, but after you've repeated a bunch of times, I'm not getting anything out of it. Doing it 100 times, 200 times every single day. Um, make it a part of your training, but don't make it the whole thing. There's so much more that you can do, and it'll still improve your draw. Throwing obstacles out there. I mean, as a lead or as a singles player, you've got other bowls that you need to navigate around. So, practicing those undershots, those around shots, those different things that you normally wouldn't do, it's worth your time. And it makes it a little more interesting. And interest is what gets the brain going as well.
Because since you're doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to eventually turn yourself into a zombie where you're just showing up, throwing your bowls, and you're not really caring. And then you're obviously maybe not going to be getting the most out of yourself for that training session. So varying it up, maybe only doing 3 times a week instead of 5 times a week so that you're extra focused, whatever it is, and you sort of will get to know yourself and what you need to do when you are training to really get the best out of yourself and the best out of the sessions. So it's very much tailoring it to yourself and making sure you are focusing and that you are all there when you are training.
And one of the final things we have, near and dear to our hearts, find a coach, find someone. There is a coach for everybody. It might not be the same coach for every single person. I'm not the best coach for everybody. Mike's not the best coach for everybody, but we're the right coach for somebody, and we're the right coach for certain groups of people, depending on what they're in competition for, what they're looking for. My coaching style might not fit you. That's perfectly fine. It's not a me or you thing. It's more of just a styles clashing, and that's totally okay. But there is a coach for you. It can be hard to find, but talk to your club, talk to your province. Reach out to people that that maybe do have a coach and say, hey, how do I find a coach? How do I get myself better? And sometimes it's just sending out a plea for help. It's like, I need a coach. Like, point me in the right direction and towards people. That's it's a huge step. When you do find a coach, find someone that pushes you. Don't find somebody that's just going to get you to do the same things you've always been doing. Don't get somebody who is just gonna say you're doing great, fantastic, just keep doing it and go on your way. Find someone who's gonna push you, who's gonna get you out of your comfort zone, who's going to show you different things that you've never thought of before, um, and help you raise that bar. Someone who cares that you're going to move forward. Um, some coaches are good at helping new bowlers get to a competitive level. Some are good for getting competitive bowlers to the Canadians, and others are good for taking those seasoned, really good bowlers and getting them to that next elite level where they're playing international bowls. So there's coaches for everybody, but you want somebody that's going to push you into that next level and be the right person for you. Find someone that can help you. Okay. Like we said, plans are critical to success. A yearly plan, a training plan, a competition plan, and even game plans. And I don't see a lot of those out there. Some people say they have them and don't. Some people do have them, but don't use them very well. Find a coach that can help you plan appropriately for where you are. All the plans are good. Not everybody needs a super intense yearly plan or a super intense training plan. They just need a guide to say, like, early season I do this, mid season I do this, and when I'm close to the end of my season I do that, and then off season this is where I do stuff off the green and do visualization and a bunch of other stuff. And find a coach that communicates, someone that's going to be open and honest and going to discuss things with you, someone who's going to give you the information you need and not sugarcoat things all the time. They'll give you the good with the bad. They'll tell you what you need to work on, and someone who's accessible. You don't want to try to work with a coach who's never around, or who'll never get back to you and never give you feedback. You want someone that's going to give you feedback, that's going to be there to see how you're doing and what you're doing. And they might not be there every single day for every single practice. You may practice on your own, but at least they're there to guide you and get you in the right direction. What do you think, Mike?
No, can't can't disagree with anything you've said there. You put it well. Where a lot of it is getting a coach involved with you. Not every coach is going to be the right coach for you, so you may have someone coach you and then move on to a different coach. But there are coaches out there, and there are people who are willing to help you that may not be your traditional certified coaches, we'll say, but there are people that are very good, either mentors, whatever you want to call people who played the game and do have valid things that they can tell you or help you out with. So definitely worthwhile reaching out to people, because probably within your club there's going to be either a certified coach or a veteran player, we'll call them, that maybe is willing to give you some critiques, help you out, maybe give you some drills to steer you in the right direction. Whatever it might be, it would be helpful reaching out to people to sort of coach or mentor you, because a lot of it is planning, honestly, as you indicate. Having a little bit of a plan, you're going to show up to the green and you're going to practice for an hour and a half, and you're going to do 30 minutes of drawing to an off-centered jack because you realize you're not so good when the jack's off-centered. That's something that you can strategize 8 ends or however many ends it would be, drawing to that off-centered jack, and then you're going to do a half an hour of tee to tee and super short, just to get your long and short on point, whatever it might be. Sort of having little plans like that in your head are very important to make your sessions worthwhile, just because you are going to vary it up, as we're saying, instead of just drawing to the same jack over and over again. Trying different things, getting different types of shots out there, because when you do get to the game situations, when you do practice things, you're going to be much better off.
Well said. And this is just a summary. Modify your training. Okay. Don't be afraid to make it super short, to not draw tee to tee on a really slow green that's not going to give you much. Make sure that you're doing what's right for you. You know, you don't have to play the traditional game. You can play it and train in different ways and all over the place, and you can play corner to corner on the green if you wanted to, if it's available. There's nothing stopping you from doing things that are different, and that will help. Try playing in less than ideal weather. You never know how you'll perform. You know, what can you do to improve? Do you know how you're going to play when it gets really cold or really wet? You know, are you constantly dumping your bowl? How do you fix that? You know, what do you need with you? Be prepared. Understand what you need to do. You know, we've said it a bunch of times already. Don't just go out and draw jacks. You know, plan to do some dynamic drills. Keep it interesting. You know, put out obstacles. Be creative. You know, engage the brain. This is what's going to get you where you want to go in bowls. You know, just slogging bowls up and down isn't going to do it. You want this to work as well. And one thing we didn't quite touch on, but I wanted to add here on the end is don't overlook visualization. Everybody does it. We all visualize our line. We want to know, you know, can we get outside this bowl? Can we get under this bowl? You know, is it going to come back on this hand? You know, I've played a few. How do I draw the jack? It's shorter or it's longer. We all visualize the line. You can do this even when the greens aren't ready and when the greens are crappy. Okay? You can visualize. Get used to doing some more realistic visualization. You can see the green, you can see the jack, you can see your bowl, you can see it go down. You're picking your line, and you can tell what the arc is. Visualization works. They use it in all types of sports. Don't overlook it. You know, your body goes where your mind tells it to. So train this just as much as you're out there rolling bowls.
Yeah, well said. Like the weather part, I think, is an important one to touch on. When you're starting early in the year, we obviously get quite a bit of wind. In the spring is one of the things that's pretty common, is it's very windy frequently. And one of the good ways to sort of develop yourself as a player mentally is to go out when it is windy. It's not considered optimal to have either a headwind or a side wind, whatever you want to whichever direction you want to play. But it does add a very tricky part to that practice where if you have a headwind one direction, you're going to have to throw it harder than the other way, and you're going to have to get used to how the wind gusts, because obviously when you're in a competition, that's a huge part of the game. Is if you do have a wind going, it significantly affects things. So go out in those suboptimal conditions, because it's going to help you develop that mental part of the game, and also allow you to maybe get that laser focus where you know that, okay, there's a pretty heavy wind coming from my side. I have to sort of compensate when I am throwing for it. So I do really want to harp on that one, because that is a big part of the game that I think a lot of people underestimate. Is the suboptimal conditions are very important to put yourself through.
And Pierre in chat, I was just gonna say that's an excellent point. Being accountable to someone, even if it's just a part of your game, but having someone that you're accountable to, that's, pushing you, whether it's a player or a coach. Really, I'm accountable to the player. It makes me have to do my job to the best of my ability, because I want the best for that player, and I'm accountable to them. If I screw up, or I don't give them something, or I am too lazy and I just sit on my hands, it's hurting that player. And with the player, it'll push you to train, because there's a coach that you have to tell them. It's like, well, what did you do this week? Well, I just went out and drew jacks 1,000 times. Well, not a great answer. Or I didn't even go out this week, for whatever reason. Someone to be accountable to hold you to that standard, and to make sure that you're going in the right direction. That's a really good point too.
Well, and even if you're scheduling sessions with your coach and you don't show up on the Wednesday session because it was windy out and you didn't want to go out because it was super windy,
Yep.
You have that accountability where if your coach is going to be there, you're probably going to show up because you've made a plan to be there with someone and to practice. And then if you don't show up, it's obviously that accountable nature. So great point by Pierre there. It is very much the accountability is a huge part of that coach player relationship, because it does help you develop and sort of come along as a player when you do have that accountability of a coach with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first coach's corner in a while, with Batuli and Fitzgerald. You got two coaches for the price of one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully we can keep putting these things on and make it relevant to your season. We wanted this one to be very relevant to the people that are just getting out on the greens, and give you stuff to think about. But hopefully you enjoyed it. Let us know your thoughts. I will try to clip this into a condensed version of just Coaching Corner, and add it to the playlist of the other Coaches Corners that we have. So cool. Good start.
Yes, I'm glad we were able to do that. I think you're like, oh, the first Patuli Fitzgerald. I think this was the very first Patuli Fitzgerald Coach's Corner of all time.
It
So
was.
glad to get a discounted coach such as myself and a prestigious one like you together. So I'm so happy that a performance coach was able to steer me through that one, because my uncertified coachingness, I don't know if it was enough to help the people out that are watching here. So if I'm not mistaken, that was all we really had planned for the show today. Is that right, Darryl?
Yeah. Not much going on in bowls, and we haven't really kicked off anything in Canada, North America, so to speak. So that's about it.
Yeah, definitely. It's the very beginning of the year. I think we're going to be seeing lots of new stuff in the coming episodes. We'll have lots more to talk about. So look out for that in the future. If we are sort of wrapping things up, one more reminder: if you are here, please do hit that like, comment, subscribe. Darryl's sort of indicated there's previous video about the assessment beginning of the year, part of his technical difficulties series. So definitely go back and watch our previous videos. If you are starting out the season wanting to sort of assess yourself, that technical difficulties series is a good one to go through, to sort of even go through your delivery, see if you maybe need to work on your grip, work on the motion, release, whatever it is. That whole series is good to go look through. And we do appreciate any sort of support watches you do give us, because we are here. We're trying to develop the game overall across the world. So if you are able to check our videos out, and it does help you out sort of along your lines, finding coaches, bring yourself along as a player, we do appreciate any sort of support we can get from you. So anything else out of you today, Daryl?
No. I guess before we go, Gary Lawrence in there is saying that the new Crystal Mark rules book is now available. That's true. I did pick mine up yesterday, with the new stuff. So, um, I guess just a quick plug. There is a new rule book. There are some new rules out there. If you are going to be in some big competitions or you're an umpire, let's say, um, definitely make sure that you brush up on the new rules. I don't know them off the top of my head. I know there is one about disturbing bulls, and there's a big controversy about that out there. So maybe we'll touch on that the next show. But yeah, new rule books out there. Go get yours and brush up on the new rules.
Yeah, thanks for the comment there, Gary. That is something to definitely highlight. It is some new rules in there, some slight changes. I've read through a bit of the rule book myself, and there are some slight changes in a couple different things. And I know exactly what you're talking about. The disturbing of bulls. It's a bit of a controversy in a few of the different forums that me and you both follow for bulls across the world. So yeah, maybe that might be a good thing for the next show. A stump the ump part of the show or something like that would be a fun thing to maybe add in.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, with that, I guess everyone have yourself a good beginning to your bowl season, and may all your bowls be touchers.